by a quick way of introduction, my name is Nick Stagge. I'm our VP of Marketing here. I've been with ExpertVoice for about four and a half years. And before I was here, I was sitting on your guys' side of the table. I was a client working for brands like Skull Candy, Jeremy, me and him together, and for GoPro. So I understand what it's like to be on your side of the table and to think about every single day how you're focused on selling more product, how you're focused on building your brand, what it means to be a brand in a competitive space. And I know what it's like to work with ExpertVoice. And I think we've evolved and improved our partnerships over the past, every year. It feels like we're improving and getting better. And genuinely, from the marketing team to you, we appreciate the relationships that we're forging, the things that we're going and tackling together. And it's really inspiring for us to come to work every day knowing that we are here to support you guys. So thank you for giving us what I think is the coolest job ever. One of the brands that we absolutely love working with, I mean, all of you we really love working with, but is Vortex. So Ashley Schleicher, did I get that one right?
Yep.
Come on up, and Dylan Isabel. Thanks, guys. So Ashley is the director of marketing at Vortex. She's been with companies like Pepsi as a marketing manager. She's started at Vortex in the apparel section and is now, as Jameson from Vortex said, Ashley just runs it. She just makes it happen. So we're excited to be sitting with her. And Dylan Isabel is an assistant manager recently promoted, by the way. Congratulations. At Academy Sports, and he is a shooting sports expert. So we're going to make sure that you guys are doing the majority of the talking here. Ashley, last night in the toast, Tom had mentioned that Vortex has seen unprecedented growth. Yep. And talking to you in preparation for today, you kept harping on this concept of scaled relationships and one-on-one connections. Can you talk to me about what that really means for Vortex and how you go about making that happen every day?
Sure. Can everybody hear me? Yep. Okay, awesome. So one of the things that at Vortex, probably the thing that matters the most to us is an acronym that we say CARE, which stands for Create a Rare Experience. So everything that we're doing is always trying to create a wow moment for the consumer, for our experts, something that, breaks the script a little bit, is authentic, real, memorable. So sometimes when we're doing those things, it's not necessarily scalable to the thousands and hundreds of thousands of levels, which you'll hear about when we get to Dylan, but we try to do things that are scalable. Like when we ship out products, we'll throw in a decal or a hat or something that's unexpected in a world where consumers aren't really necessarily expecting a brand to connect with them personally. We try to find ways that we can personally connect with each of those individuals. Okay, that's a great example. I love that you talk about the post-purchase experience and making something personal and relatable. And I know earlier this morning, Steve talked a lot about moving from a transactional relationship to a neighborly relationship, right? So most post-purchase marketing is like, great, you bought something, buy more things from us. Right. So how did you guys kind of toss that aside and say, no, we're going to focus on something that is more about relationships? Was that a discussion internally that took time and effort, or was it just natural? I think, well, at Vortex, it was natural. It's something that the founders really believed in, is that if you exceed the value that your customers are expecting, everything else will follow. So it's never been about the sales or the numbers. I mean, we obviously take that into consideration, but above all else, it's how can we make this a unique and awesome experience for everybody that's shopping with Vortex. Got it. So as you focus on this one-on-one relationship, or just this more personal relationship, even at scale, what's the mix look like from digital efforts to face-to-face, spending time in retail stores or at events, things like that? Yep. So a lot of what we do is digital. We have a very engaged social media team. Our social media manager is here today, and he'll be the first to tell you that his team is responding to every single post, comment. We make it a goal so that we're having interaction with everybody that reaches out to Vortex, whether it's on the phone, social media, on our website. Beyond that, we're going to many consumer-facing events and trade shows. We do in-person trainings with a lot of our retailers, and then also utilizing the ExpertVoice platform. We lean heavily on the retail associate training side as a means to empower our sales associates to come and learn about the brand and the products so they can take the customer experience down to the consumer level on the sales floor.
And how long have we been working together, and how has that partnership evolved and grown over time?
So we first started working with ExpertVoice 9 or 10 years ago, and we kind of were encouraged by a retailer to join, and we saw that a lot of our online dealers were participating. It seemed really intriguing. It seemed to be working really well. So we first signed on to do the training for the retail associates, and we would load content about once a year, and that was kind of it. But the way that it's evolved now is it's more of an integral mix in our overall marketing and influencer strategy. So just last year, we had an overhaul on all the content, working with Brandon and Hannah and Kelsey and Coy, and we've changed it a little bit so that now we're pushing out new content with product launches, various different pieces to learn about the brand and the company and keep consumers engaged more like 4 to 5 times a year versus just one and done. It's a good way to just keep consistent interaction and reach out to people like Dylan.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So one of the things that you'll see here is before 2017, you guys were interacting and having engagements with 5% of your addressable audience. And over the last year, you've moved that to 20%.
Yep.
And you give credit to content and different types of content. What are you guys doing in terms of store discount, incentives? And then is this just something you're seeing happen on ExpertVoice, or are you taking that same strategy and applying it outside of our platform?
Yep. So from a content perspective, I definitely give a lot of the credit to the ExpertVoice team in helping us do a complete overhaul more consistently throughout the year. And then we also are doing incentives and promotions that are tailored to the time of year when our consumers are buying or they're interacting with our brand the most. We've started to build in more of these unique, we'll call them rare experiences of where we're incentivizing or just randomly reaching out to various participants or experts to do these one-off experiences like we'll talk about when we get to Dylan. And then we do translate a lot of that just outside of ExpertVoice as well.
And please tell us how, because if you can create this sort of lift on ExpertVoice, creating this sort of lift in engagement outside of just one platform, I think is really a powerful lesson for all of us to learn.
Yeah, I think it goes back to a lot of what Steve was saying this morning. Listen, respond, and interact. That's something that we at Vortex, we do. I mean, we respond to every consumer, every customer, every expert that calls in, writes in. And I think just developing that trust and building that relationship over time and making sure that it's not just a one and done. He bought a rifle scope, we're good, we'll touch base with him in a year, see how he's liking it. And there are other things that we supplement it with. We'll do surveys, we'll hold exclusive events for our experts, things like that. So it's easy to do if you really just put the customer first.
I think those are probably easier said than done. So that touches so much on the critical 2%, right? Like, let's focus on the people that really will influence everyone else and create a relationship with them. But as you grow and you see this sort of growth, not just on ExpertVoice, but across the spectrum, how do you maintain that level of connectivity and one-on-one relationship when you're interacting and engaging with, a multiplier of what you were only 12 months ago?
Right. So we can't be everywhere, but the experts and consumers that we do connect with, we do try to build that trust and relationship. But then we kind of rely on them to continue to build that trust and relationship with other end consumers. So it's kind of a trickle effect and making sure that we empower people like Dylan to learn about the product, learn about the brand, and become a part of Vortex. Yeah.
So become a part of Vortex. I've talked a lot with Dylan. I've listened to all of the videos that he's been in. I read everything that he'll post and share with us. And he talks so much about feeling like he's a part of the brand. He's here wearing a Vortex polo, not because we asked him or you asked him. It's just because that's what he wanted to do, right? So Dylan, please, for everyone here, just tell us your story. How did you get interested in shooting sports? Where did that passion stem from? And how has that impacted the things that you spend your time on, the way that you focus in your career? We'd love to hear your story.
Well, so basically, I was born and raised in Tennessee, in Middle Tennessee. Moved to Texas in 2012, and then that year I started at Academy, and met quite a few of the buddies that I currently have now. One of them that year was like, "Hey man, you want to go hunt with me?" Sure, why not? I went hunting a couple times when I was younger, with uncles and stuff like that, and basically from that day, I was like, man, this is pretty awesome. This is something I could get used to. And so working at Academy gives me the opportunity to get firsthand knowledge on, being able to interact with customers and interact with people who also enjoy doing the things that I do. So I started using at the time it was 3.5, now ExpertVoice in January.
There are like 7 names in between all of that, but yeah.
Yeah, and everything in between.
There'll be 7 more.
Yeah, and so I started on the platform in, I want to say 2014, as just kind of a chance, more or less. At the time, we didn't really push it as a company or anything. It was I was doing some computer training at work one day and seen a little bubble over there that just said, it said 3.5, get, brand training and, receive incentives for doing that training. Well, what the heck, I'll try it out. Well, I took the first couple modules, and it was for someone. By that point, I'd been hunting and everything for about 1.5 years and fishing for about 1.5 years. So at that point, I was basically dove headfirst into that outdoor lifestyle. And really, I was like, well, I'm so passionate about what I do and the things that I like doing. So, why not try to get more information and learn more about the things that I like doing? And then, of course, receive discounts on, the products that I'm using anyway. So started using the platform, taking the trainings and learning more about the products, and, makes me a better sportsman myself because I have better knowledge. But not only that, but I can take that information directly to my customers, and that directly relates to, sales on my end. That I at the time I didn't really have that much play in, but now that being in the management portion of the business, it's a bigger role than at the time what I thought. And so let's see, this was last February or March, Expertocity reached out to me, said, hey man, we want you to have a sit down with Jimmy from Vortex and kind of have a chat with him and talk about a couple things. Well, we see how interactive you are with the platform, and we see your postings and how passionate you are for what you're doing. Well, got on a video chat with Jimmy, talked for a few minutes, and then basically he invited me to come out to Atlanta with him and the whole crew to work at the NRA show with those guys. Completely blew me away, because really and truly, that's an opportunity that most people can't really even dream of. That's optics that I've been using for, at the time, 3 or 4 years, and I'm getting the opportunity to work directly with those guys in their environment at their one of the biggest shows in the country. So
at that moment, a year ago or so, is it fair to say that the relationship changed? Could we have a defining the relationship type of moment here?
Yes, for sure. It was definitely a defining
You moved
moment,
from
yeah.
transactional.
Well, yes. That was probably they talked about the, moving from transactional to the neighborly relationship.
Would you say that you've moved beyond neighborly and you're more...
Oh, yeah. I'm in love with Jimmy. That's...
Sorry, Steve, but your theory falls apart with Dylan. and a million others, by the way.
people
But
Right,
Most
right,
people
right. But you know, that was one of the biggest opportunities and that I've been able to have as, you know, just a retail sales associate, and to really anchor me in as you know, that really and truly at the very end of the line, a consumer and a customer of Vortex. It just kind of anchored me in and basically made me a diehard Vortex fan.
so can we show them the video real quick that we shot with you?
Sure. Yeah. I don't.
Everybody has that thing. It's that thing that you're super, super passionate about and you have that true love for and that you eat, sleep, and breathe it. That's that thing that makes you the expert. That thing that you're super, super passionate about that nobody can take away from you.
I love that you said that no one could take that away from you. That piece always sticks with me. And then to your, we had a slide here. I've skipped it somehow, but you went to the NRA, spent time on the floor with them. After you kind of elevated your relationship with Vortex, what did that mean in terms of how often you were recommending Vortex and what type of recommendation you were giving to the people that were asking, or that you were either just saying, hey buddy, you got to listen to what I'm going to tell you right now?
Right. So, I mean, obviously, you know, that was a very undescribable opportunity, and be able to have that very unique one-on-one relationship with, you know, one of the premier brands that I use and, you know, love in my life. So basically, having that relationship and being able to have that one-on-one relationship generates more of a want, I guess you could say, to push, not necessarily push, but recommend a product to a customer. You know, if I've got family or friends, that was a big, you know, recommendation thing. If I've got family or friends or even customers that come in and say, hey, you know, I'm looking at, you know, rifle scopes. These are kind of what I've looked at so far. You know, what do you think? Well, I mean, as the retail associate, you know, we're trained, you know, basically, you help that customer find what's going to fit their need and their want the best. Well, being so knowledgeable about Vortex products and having that that knowledge at my fingertips, I know that there's probably not a single customer that comes in looking for any piece of optic that I can't recommend something from Vortex. So really and truly, I'm still holding true to that retail associate, you know, mentality that I have to, I have to take care of that customer at the end of the day and give them something that's going to fit their need and their want and exceed their expectation. And when I can give them that kind of recommendation, and the recommendation that has that much knowledge and that much experience behind it, then, you know, we call them like lifelong customers is what we strive to create. And so being able to give those very knowledgeable, very expert recommendations creates that trust between you and the customer, and that, you know, in turn creates that lifelong customer and, you know, brings that customer back for the neighborly relationship.
Yeah. So Ashley, this sort of relationship is, I mean, you can see the passion coming from Dylan. You can hear it in his voice. But how in the world do you measure that? And do you measure that when Dylan is one of, you know, he makes up one of the 2%ers that you're looking for?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. But the way we kind of see it is Dylan is one individual, but we treat all our customers like the best customers. And if Dylan has a great experience, he's going to talk about it with his friends and family, his coworkers, and other people are going to be talking about Vortex. So while it's not directly measurable necessarily, based on a metric of sorts, but just the impact that we had on this one individual is enough of a value as a brand that we see it carry through in everything. I mean, you can see it on our social media pages, to the people we talk to at our events and trade shows, and all of our retailers, really.
Yeah. You heard Craig earlier today talk about or ask the question, how in the world do I upsell this when it is tough to measure? Mm-hmm. So is this something that you don't necessarily have to upsell because from the top down your company just believes in this? Or is this still a challenge for you come budget season, come time when you throw an invoice on the table and you're like, look, this is a big one, let's go for it?
Right. So it definitely comes from the top, so it's less of an upsell, but there are things that do require a monetary investment. But if you're proving that it's going to enhance or elevate the customer experience, it's easier for us to sell it up than maybe most people have to. But like I said, it kind of pays for itself in a way. You see it in Dylan, you see it in the content that we can get from that, and it can be shared on all of our platforms. There's definitely an effort required for some of the things, but things like ExpertVoice, it's easy to upsell when we can have this massive platform that we can engage with a large, significant amount of our influencers.
So much of marketing is very much, I've done this, and this specific thing drove this level of return. But it sounds like you're saying, no, we're looking at it more holistically. Right. And if we're having relationships like this with Dylan and with people like Joshua Miller and so on and so forth, let's look at the growth of our company over time, and that justifies it?
Right. Yep. Kind of like what I was mentioning earlier, if you exceed the value of what they're expecting, kind of comes full circle. And we've experienced that as a company, as a brand, and over the years, even just with ExpertVoice and the way that we've been doing business with our experts. So
as you look to the future, and it doesn't have to be with ExpertVoice, but I'm just curious, generally speaking, what's next for you guys to take those relationships and either create a deeper relationship with people like Dylan, if that's even possible, or to find more people like Dylan that you can get to this point of a relationship?
Yeah, so I think it's twofold. Definitely finding more opportunities to have experiences with people like Dylan or groups of people like Dylan, but also how can we scale that? Some of the things that we really are starting to dip our toes a little bit more into is, things like surveys and focus groups and things that we can actually have a two-way conversation, less of a push and more of an interaction with our experts and our consumers and getting feedback from them so we can make better products that they're looking for and carry that level of service over into our products, into our experiences, our events, and really just taking it to the next level.
Great. One thing I also want to touch on, it just hit home here. At lunch yesterday, we talked about Vortex trying to build these relationships and then the dynamic of what's your balance look like direct to consumer versus retail. Mm-hmm. We all know that the state of retail has been shaky at best. And you just re-emphasized, look, retail helped us get here and retail will help us get to the next step. What's your take on that? How do you continue to work with retail partners even as they're struggling?
Yeah. To your point, retail has got us to where we are, and we really value our relationships with not only the retail associates, but the buyers and everybody that helps bring Vortex to the consumers. So, it's a lot of partnering with them to bring different marketing initiatives to the store level, whether that's with POP, displays, training, informing the retail associates how they can better extend the customer service to the end consumer. But really, especially in our industry, it's harder to shop online for a great optic because a lot of it is very subjective to what application you're using it for, the quality. But so there's no better feeling than going in and talking to somebody who knows exactly what you might be looking for, no matter what the brand is, really. So we only see the retail footprint helping us continue to expand.
Great. So what advice do you have for this crowd in terms of building and scaling really deep neighborly type relationships?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I would say is if you expect experts to be engaged and stay engaged, it's for the brands to be engaged and stay engaged, and continuing to look for opportunities that you can interact with the experts, finding unique ways to create those wow moments with them, whether it's a monetary investment or not. I mean, you can do something simple as just responding on Facebook to every single person that writes into you. And then just continuing to deepen that trust by listening to what they're saying. And they know better because they're the ones that are using your product. So I think just keeping that two-way communication and reiterating everything that Steve already said this morning. I mean, his presentation was spot on to exactly how we're trying to do things. Yeah. So,
well, congratulations on that. Dylan, you've got a room of some of the best brands in their categories and industries, and they're here because they want to interact with experts. They want to connect with people on a deeper level. What advice do you have for them? What matters? What doesn't matter? If you could give them one thing that they could walk away today going, that's the thing Dylan recommends I do, what is it?
As far as the one piece of advice, as far as from the retail side of my experiences, really having that one-on-one relationship with a brand, or even, being able to really connect with a brand, maybe, and even, on some levels, it may not be possible on a one-on-one level, but being able to have that, neighborly relationship that Steve talked about this morning, is very important, because if you don't believe in the products that you're selling and you don't have the knowledge behind it, you're not going to be able to create that trust with your customer, and you're not going to be able to have that reputation that you know what you're talking about, and that customer is going to come to you and want, or that family, friend, or whoever it is going to come to you for that advice. And so ultimately, that's where the training comes in for having good quality training and having the best relationship you can with your retail associates or your consumer. That would probably be the best thing, because really and truly, if it wasn't for the really the ExpertVoice platform, I wouldn't have a lot of the knowledge that I have on some of the individual brands, even being Vortex before all of this. So that's probably the best advice I can give.
I like that one piece of advice. That was really good, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so what questions do you guys have? Let's get Ashley and Dylan. We've got a couple of questions up front here, Dave.
I have a quick two-part question here for Dylan. First, how often do you find yourself going on ExpertVoice and looking to engage with content? And then second, what type of content do you find the most usable or relatable to consumers? Like if you, let's say with Vortex, somebody comes in and they're unfamiliar with the brand, how are you going to sell them Vortex? Are you talking brand heritage? Is there certain specs you're talking about? What do you find is the most impactful?
Okay, so the first question, I really and truly probably 4 to 5 times a week use the platform. I have the app on my phone, on my lunch breaks, throughout the day, however you have it. The second question, it depends on the brand and depends on the product that customer is looking for, really and truly, as to what the recommendation entails and how I present that brand or that product to the customer. But generally, the technical specifications, the brand heritage comes in sometimes, but the brand heritage is a little less impactful in my experiences. But the biggest thing is being able to have the technical knowledge and the specifications of the full assortment of what a brand offers, and the benefits and disadvantages even of some products, to be able to better adjust whatever recommendation that is for that individual customer.
We had a question from 511. Yeah? He has a bunch.
So how did this relationship happen? Was it ExpertVoice bringing Dylan to Vortex, or was it a combination of Vortex saying, this guy is commenting a lot on our products, we need to speak with him? How did that even happen?
Do you want me to talk about it, or you?
Yeah, on my end, it was brought to me that basically ExpertVoice and Vortex kind of teamed together to find that one expert that was truly passionate about what they do and like that. So I don't know the behind the scenes as far as.
They're here to hear you, not
Let's fight
me.
about
So
it.
have at.
So really, ExpertVoice came to us with a narrowed down list of experts based on engagement, who's highly engaged with our product, just like all those little pieces. And we kind of handpicked Dylan after we looked into his account and saw his passion for the brand and reached out to him directly. So,
But make no mistake, Vortex came to us and said, look, this is really important that we create one-on-one relationships with people. And we want to know who some of the best experts are that have engaged with us and are in our space. And our team put together a list, and Vortex made that happen. And we reached out on behalf of them to see that, if Dylan was okay with it. But at that point, we were just kind of Chuck Woolery, and the love connection happened. I point here, but it's it's Vortex and Dylan, not Ashley and Dylan. I think Jameson might not like that too much.
And
We have a question over here.
Say
Oh,
one more thing. Just assuming, you're obviously the 2%, and the clean store is probably the number one store for Vortex at Academy, I would assume. Has Academy implemented more training due to what you're doing probably at that one store to say it is very important to train at the store level and use you as kind of the example of that?
So Academy hasn't really, I guess you could say, used me as an example, but they are, as it's been said today a couple times that, brick and mortar retail stores are kind of struggling here and there and stuff. So Academy is putting a lot more emphasis on having associates that are very well knowledged, and they're calling them enthusiasts is what Academy is calling them, in every role throughout the store. That way, whenever those customers come in with those questions about products or about techniques or whatever, there we have those associates that are knowledgeable enough and educated enough to have that information to help that customer and close that sale and ultimately increase sales and everything. So
Dylan also told us at lunch yesterday that Academy is up year over year, and you can read that in the news, but that his store is consistently one of the stores leading the charge. And we see that Academy, less than 30 days ago, has just promoted Dylan to an assistant manager. So I think a lot of credit goes to the things that Dylan is doing on the floor and with the team. Okay, we had a question over here.
It's actually a perfect segue into what my question was going to be.
What can I say?
We recently, my company's recently pulled out of the big box stores because it had been lacking exactly that, what the specialty retailer experience that folks were getting with the knowledge and the product knowledge. And I wanted to just basically ask Vortex, but specifically Ashley, what you guys have done, because I go into a Sportsman's, I go into a Gander, well, not anymore, go into a Cabela's. And the one product that everybody's got knowledge on in that department is Vortex. I mean, they rattle off the specs. They know what's going on. They tell me about the optics. And you just put another brand next to it. Yeah, that's the same power, scope. And that's really all you get. So I'm just wondering what you guys have done differently to do that. And it's great to hear the Academy's kind of getting back to that model. Like, hey, we've got to have experts in each individual little department to help people out. But what part of the model allowed you guys to break that mold of, hey, we're having Jimmy from Shoes coming in to sell a scope right now, to making sure that everybody's knowledgeable about the product?
Yeah. So I think it, again, starts with the relationship. So we really spend a great deal of time with our retailers, whether it's traveling out there, bringing them over to Vortex, and just really getting to know them on a personal level, and then also making sure that they have the tools that they need to sell the product. We do in-person trainings. We have materials, collateral that we build out, supplementing it with some online stuff, and then really just working directly with our sales team on whatever information they need to get that to the consumer.
Good questions. Anything else? Okay, you guys were great. Oh, there's a question back here. Sorry.
Hey, this question is for Dylan. As a retail sales associate, do you have any expectations from the brands that you love to engage with when you log on to the platform? And it could be like modules or or additional content, or how frequently you're seeing these modules or updated content?
Well, I mean, it definitely helps whenever brands are engaged with the platform as far as regularly uploading new content, or tweaking it here and there to new products, or to maybe better go in detail into some other products. So that definitely helps go into more of that, what keeps me engaged as far as wanting to learn more about the brand. But
Thank you.
Thank you.